strong, but I really enjoy it just because I feel like, you know, it's good at 2-star, and then you can really ramp up when you hit those 3 stars for those guys later on. And yeah, look, we're into the lobby here, having a look at those listed names over on the right-hand side there, Makes. We've got some big hitters.
Yes, of course. So I already mentioned it before. We have KNP and TXE, and I kind of have to talk about that because I do remember them from Worlds, and going into Worlds, especially TXE, was so underrated. Like, everybody was saying, you know, TXE went last in all of the scrims, is going to be picked last in all of the fantasy drafts, and then TXE made it all the way to day 3 of Worlds, which is one of the biggest feats you can get as a player. And it was really, really impressive. Had a super, super fun tournament, lots and lots of players rallying behind him. So I'm looking forward to see maybe a repetition of that. But KNP, of course, also made it to Worlds before we'll look to go back. And then there's one more player that I don't know personally, but our admin on the EMEA broadcast is called Omni, so I already feel a very strong bond towards Omni.
Yeah, you sound so surprised, though. It's like we've had a couple of players now from OCE, right, that have managed to make it through to that final day. So I don't know why you guys keep... Yeah, like what do we have to do to earn that respect of you guys overseas?
Rated that badly. Sorry, I picked one of the OCE players, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was KNP, but I think it was just a factor of the scrims going so badly for TXE, which at this point I'm not even sure if that was purpose, because if I recall correctly, TXE like went a little bit hard force on a very strong comp during Worlds, but it worked out, so that is also skill.
I'm not gonna lie, when we had the we did the winners interview with him at the end of set 6, and he basically said, I've got, you know, uni exams coming up and I'm not gonna have any time to prep for that. So you know, maybe he was also a little bit surprised with how well he did. But all right, we're getting into our first augments here. A couple of interesting options. I feel like Jeweled Lotus at 2-1 opens up a lot of options for you.
It definitely does, but with Darkflight performing as well as it does, and I don't think Darkflight is necessarily a chase trait. However, I've seen players go for that Darkflight crest before. I'm curious if that's what we're aiming for, because if you get that, then you can already get some Darkflight essence possibly, but it will be the Jeweled Lotus for now for Asha getting picked up here, and we can see some players are getting that level 4 upgrade now, so boards will be a little bit stronger, and Asha will be on level 3 for now. Does have that Wukong too, so a little bit of extra board strength, but it will not be enough against that Bramble Vest Malphite that TXE has already on the board, and it looks like a Metabolic Accelerator from him.
Yeah, well, you know, obviously starting out with, you know, the level 3, obviously wasn't going for the win there or anything, but yeah, starting out with a Jeweled Lotus, it's such a great option at the start, because it means sometimes if you're going into those, you know, magic damage builds, you know, one of the good item combos is Infinity Edge and Jewel Gauntlet, right? And starting out at 2-1, you can sort of think about that kind of stuff. You completely cut out the Jewel Gauntlet, and you can have such it's a really strong item combo there when you only have to play the IE, and it almost feels like you've got that kind of like 4-item champion.
Yeah, for sure. So that will be something to look out for. Now, Asha being tempted here with a possible Nidalee too. Now, we talked a little bit about Astral going into this. I think Jeweled Lotus isn't bad for an Astral reroll, but having only that Nidalee for now will not be enough. There is another Astral in the shop that you could possibly go, but Asha will not be taunted by those Astrals, does not want to go for it as far as it looks like.
Yeah, I guess one of the other reasons why he might have stayed down there at level 3 is, you know, if he's seeing the reroll Karma angle, because obviously her with Jeweled Lotus, you can see he's already got the rod on that Karma, you know, maybe just giving himself the extra chances to try and get into that 3-star if that's the option. Do you see that as a particularly strong comp right now? I know I've certainly been running into a lot of it on ladder.
I think it works, but more so because of the sheer U siphon component that's very strong. Something else that's very strong is Omni's port. He's already on 22 Lagoon stacks, and having that Lagoon online so early will be really, really beneficial in the long run. We talked about it before going into this broadcast, that Lagoon mages are a pretty viable AP comp, which is not something we get every set. Just a true AP comp being as strong as this. And yeah, that could be a strong indicator for Omni for now.
Okay, and then having a look at Perfect Slumbers, he's definitely going into that Cannoneer Dark Flight sort of option. He's already got multiple Aphelios on the board, and starting off with the Zeeks as the first item, that seems like a pretty much a slam dunk in terms of marrying your starting items to your augments. But he's coming up against another Dark Flight user potentially, it seems. You can see they've taken the Locket to start with.
Yeah, and also the Better Together on KMP. I mean, you can't get a stronger statement augment than that if you want to go for those Dark Flights. It's just so good. Currently is running that Solari. Does work, of course, with the Better Together. Would prefer the Zeeks that Perfect Slumbers already has to really get that full benefit upgrade from the Better Together. But still, very, very strong statement augment going into Dark Flight for KMP here, so definitely a player to look out for. If you can get that Zeeks online, you need to be scared.
Oh, Escher straight into the spatula there. I guess thinking back to his board there, if he's looking at that Dragon Manta angle, this could really be a big buff to his chances and thinking about staying on that trait even further and deeper throughout the game.
I personally love Dragonmancer. I also love getting those Volibear puns out, even though some of my other co-casters find them to be grisly, but I personally think they're amazing. So maybe we can see a Volibear. I know it's not doing too hot right now, just a Dragonmancer in general, but maybe, just maybe, we can. I'm already getting booed out from the green. How do you feel about Dragonmancer, though? Can you restore my statement?
I mean, look, I was absolutely abusing it when Nunu was around, like everyone else. And I think once they took Nunu out, I struggled with it a bit. I mean, if you can get like the Ao Shin online later on right now, it's incredible. But that's obviously pretty chancy. So, I struggle with how unreliable it is to cap that one out.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not the strongest, but I personally would love to see a little bit of a beer reroll. Also, Lee Sin, really, really doing well on that 3-star Lee Sin. If you can get that as like 6-8 Dragonmancer, will be very strong. One kick man is not something you laugh about, so maybe, just maybe, we're going to see that today. But of course, not something players are actively looking to follow. They will only go there if all of the stars align for now, and we're just hopping through there. We're on Fred's board right now, and how are we feeling about that? Ludens, 2 Bruisers, and then a Kaisa, and a little bit of an Astral Flex that hasn't really reached the Astral just yet?
Yeah, it looks like he's definitely heading into a Lagoon board, right? I mean, he's got all the components there. Luden's one of the best augments for that, but just kind of hasn't quite been out a hit yet. I mean, sure, he's ticking his gold up a little bit there with the Astral buff in, but you can see he's going up against someone who's got, 45 stacks on their Lagoon shell already, so that's probably where he would want to be.
Definitely. Not having that Lagoon by now is going to hurt you in the long run. We can see it from Omni. Like you said, already has that 50 plus stacks just going up and up. And that will definitely be a strong contender. Also has that High Tide. So maybe you're rethinking your option if you're Fred right now. Of course, with a Morello blue buff, that's a very, very strong item combination to later put on a Sohm.
Yeah, stacking his Kaiser at the back as well, which is an interesting option. I mean, he's got two big, strong frontliners there. He can also put the Vladimir up top of, as well as if he wants to. Because if you've got the Kaiser in the, say, like the second row, she can splash that Morello onto their back line as well. Whereas putting her at the back, you're kind of focusing your damage on the frontliners and hoping to take them down more quickly first.
Do you know what I would love to see instead of the Lagoon angle for the board that we just saw? If we go fast 9 and get an ASOL in, those would also be really good ASOL items. Blue buff not necessarily, but still would be very fun. Or just getting word here that the Nomzi this game is an Evoker Nomzi, so not necessarily something players are looking to pursue, but we currently are on Aaron's board, who has found that Dragonmancer crest, has slammed it on the Sechuani for the moment, and is running those 4 Dragonmancers. Maybe this... getting those Karmas in.
Yeah, this is the roll down, right? You know, he hasn't leveled at all, obviously. So then you get to that level 4 angle where you've got to try and max out those 55% odds. You can see a lot of the other units coming through here, and finally he does manage to grab that 3-star Karma. I mean, we haven't. I can't remember if we've seen Escher's board in a little while, but the fact that we've got the 1 3-star Karma there certainly makes it harder for him, and that's why if he's going down that angle. So yeah, look. A good start there, managing to grab the 3-star Karma, always a big upgrade, and now he can just focus on the rest of his board.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, if you see at 3-1 a Karma 3 being hit by someone, you probably are scared. Also, the Dragonmancer crest, of course, gives you that emblem, so this Karma, while she only has a hotshot and a crit bluff for now, is a very scary opponent to face on your board. So you can see players just hovering through in the top left corner, just putting like, really? So Aaron's going for that Karma as we go into second augments.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it'd be interesting to see which augments they do get here. You know, if they do pull out something like the Jeweled Lotus when you haven't slammed JG yet on the Karma would be a big buff. But Battle Mage, how do you feel about that here? Because, like, you know, is that safe enough, putting your Karma on the second row and using it? No, okay.
I personally like generally, but that's just my personal taste, generally augments that force me to, like, strongly reposition. Usually not my favorite, but that's also because there's a lot of backline access with the Sohm comp, with Scale Scorn, with Vanguard jumping around, a lot of Darkflight boards. So I wouldn't personally go there, but I'm gonna go with the extra item components here on the side of Aaron, and gonna meet that Darkflight board here. A little bit of Darkflight essence for anyone and everyone that wants it on the side of, yeah, well, who are we actually facing? It's Depp, right? Can't read the name, but I think the little legend is Depp.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Yeah, but either way, yeah, it's funny that we were, you know, saying you don't have to reposition your board, but they've read the, you know, they've scouted correctly here and come out against the assassin board, so they do decide to put Karma in the front line, and it works out very well for them. I mean, look, honestly, when you get a 3-star Karma this early, you're winning. You're going to be streaking, right? Like, it's very hard to take down this champion this early, because she just one-shots everything. Like, even without the Infinity Edge right now, she's still going to be one-shotting like almost everything she comes up against.
A lot of upgrades are being hit across the board as of right now. Players are finding some extra units, and we are on TXE's board, who has got the Trade Sector and a Metabolic, is currently on a Nomzi. We said it before, it's Evoker Nomzi. You can see the Lulu in the backline, and it's a fully itemized Nomzi. How are we feeling about that?
I'm very unsure, honestly. I definitely haven't played any Evoker Nomzi myself. A Mage Nomzi enjoyer for sure. I mean, the items seem to make sense in my head, but how does it work practically? Apparently really good, because there's gold showering the board right now.
Yeah, TXE must be really happy with the rewards he's getting here. And if you also want to get rewards, you can take part in the giveaway that is currently active. It's !egg for you to hop on in just a little bit. We're going to raffle out who will win that. But for now, take your chances, and maybe you can be as lucky as TXE, who is bathing in a little bit of a gold rain right now as we go into the carousel. Interesting options. Lots and lots of crit gloves. I'd love to see someone pick up that Pantheon, but the Hecker and the Graves are also really, really nice options here.
Yeah, a couple of units you might be able to keep them on. Also, just want to note quickly in that that last matchup we saw, we had some. I don't. Do you say best in slot ever with augments? Like I almost, it's not. I don't know if that quite fits. But having hot shot and ricochet, you know, as your first two augments, like you can't get more direction than that. That's pretty nuts in terms of you know, maxing out a cannoneer comp.
Oh yeah, for sure. We are currently on another Darkflight. Yep. Nope. What is going on? But here we are. Deb, there's a lot of Darkflight players. I think 3, right, in this game. So they will be holding hands a little bit, and they need to make sure that they hit those units. And notably that Rengar. Rengar 2, I don't think Rengar 3 is within the options right now, but Rengar 2 will be so important for these players to have a little bit of extra board strength.
Yeah, and if they're really, you know, struggling that much with that many other players contesting them, it's going to be tough. At least Darkflight sort of does give you a little bit back with the fact that you can just play all of your 1-star units and stack them up. You know, Darkflight Essence, of course, we were talking about that a little bit as well. That's come back into vogue, or maybe even into vogue for sort of the first time, because obviously it's been more of those team buff items that we have seen Darkflight more successful with thus far in set 7.5, but finally this Rengar coming out and making some use of that Darkflight essence.
This better together just did Deb such a favor. Holy. Getting in that extra tankiness while the Rengar flopped over was so crucial to getting that second win there in a row, and now finding that Rengar 3 be really nice. Does have a lot of options to slam some items, but for now, loving that extra Darkflight essence that we're getting here. Hopped over to KMP for now. Does have a Rengar 1 fully itemized. Good items as well. I love, personally, really love to have that Edge of Night, but Rengar 1 at this point, oof.
Yeah, hopping around everywhere can be a bit risky, right? So Edge of Night definitely helping you out there. But as you say, yeah, just, you know, still suffering on that Rengar 1 as we're almost into the 4th stage. Yeah, we say suffering. He's on 100 health. KMP, right? I mean, he's still doing pretty well at this point. And if the Rengar can dodge, I mean, obviously that Nomsy is randomly throwing fireballs, but 2 in a row go onto the Rengar. And with 1 HP left, unfortunately, he's going to lose that streak. Going into neutrals as well. That's an even more salty blow.
Sorry, it was so fun. You absolutely jinxed that one. Just noting for you guys, you can see it here coming in for KMP. It is a Pirates game, so having that extra Mirage Flash for now did give KMP a lot of money to the early and mid game, but not sure for how long we're going to keep it now that this streak has been broken. We'll probably look to upgrade a board a little bit more directly with something that gives him more strength. Ideally, have that Rengar too, but I'm not sure will be as easy as we think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite surprised that you know, he started Locket and has streaked this far into the game, right? I mean, when we saw the first fight when he was playing with Locket, I was like, man, this doesn't even look like Darkflight. All of these units are just attacking so slowly because, you know, you're used to seeing them with Zeke's on them and just plowing through the enemy teams. But, you know, it was more of a war of attrition for KMP.
It's a better together, right? So he got that Locket from the very start as of like extra strength to the board. With better together, just having that multiplied on all of the units just gave him so much tankiness that the other boards in the early game couldn't really chew through. You can see it here, just massive shields onto the entire board. So that was, I would say, the crucial point to actually get through so far with only that Rengar 1 having a lot of extra shields on top to survive here.
Yeah, and even, you can see him going up against the Rengar too, just chipping away little by little. As you said, so much health for the others to work through. And even then, still almost winning against Deb there. But some of the other Darkfight players who have rolled a little higher in terms of the units they've been able to pick up, doing pretty well. Okay, he's got the Cavalier emblem here as an option. How do you feel about that, considering, he's already got a couple of Cavaliers? There, yep, okay, does go for it.
Quicker than I could answer. Yeah, there you go. So having that for Cavalier, it gets him an upgrade. Fred is on the second Evoker emblem, got that from the Ancient Tome. I really like that for the Lagoon Mages. I think having the Evoker emblem is so nice. Just allows you to get a little bit of extra upgrades. I would have also liked Mystic, but for now it will be Evoker, and that Kaisa will be upgraded. Really nice.
Oh, but that's not hitting, right? I mean, surely he was looking for the Soam there?
Yeah.
And
didn't find it though.
No,
does find a Bard and an Ao Shin.
And went past a lot of Seraphines as well, that, maybe could have been looking for that Seraphine 3 angle. Obviously not that this is necessarily going to be like the Seraphine Graves composition with the items he's slammed already, but that could have potentially helped him out a little bit here. And now, honestly, I am worried for Fred.
Yeah, that's definitely not the greatest position to be in. Did pick up the Bard, so maybe upgrading his chances to find the Soam in the long run. But for now, it's going to hurt a little bit as we go in here. Not the greatest position to be in.
This is the second time, by the way, we've seen that particular Nomsy come out on 1 health and just like clutch out an entire round by mowing down the carries in succession.
Kind of have to pay attention to the overall HP standings as well, right? We're currently with Fred, who is at the bottom of the lobby with 0 gold. Now, we just had Fred meet TXE, who's at the very top with a lot of gold. So that was the possibly strongest enemy he could have faced.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough matchup. Hopefully things get a little bit easier for him here on out, because he got the Soam. Exactly. He was so poor. He was I think he was basically trying to struggle and work out how he could afford to buy the Soam and what other units he would need to sell to get there. Exactly. Yeah, which, at this point, the Bard 2 could be a little bit of a win condition. So
just look at the extra strength that Soam gives. It's only a Zone 1, but it's doing so much. That backline access that the Soam allows does help so much. You're going to be another Bard ult, and the Soam will ult and find that Aphelios last second knocks it out, and that's a turnaround for Fred. Finally finding that Soam. We're going to go into the carousel once more, and some tasty options maybe.
Could have potentially had a Bard 3. Sorry, no, not a Bard 3. I'll calm down a little bit. Could have potentially had a Bard 2 if he didn't have to sell.
Ahead of ourselves.
Exactly. If he didn't have to sell that pair. So a little bit unfortunate there. You can see KMP's managed to make his way up to 5 Cavalier now.
Notably, no one in this lobby is pursuing a Ragebang angle. So the Xayah with the bow getting picked up last by KMP here is definitely a sign for now. Let's see what KMP does with it. We'll, of course, pick up the Pirate's chest for now. Here's a Siphon in the shop. Lots and lots of gold to go around for now. Yeah, is that going to be a fast night?
He's got plenty of options. But, he's still rocking that Mirage that we were talking about earlier. Only just now, as we're approaching stage 5. Deciding to do something different, finally going to put that Sejuani 2 in there to help out with that. And you can see going up against one of the other Darkflight players now. It's going to be him versus Perfect Slumbers, who also managed to get the better together and hit that very important augment when you're playing Darkflight.
That is, like, these augments, we talked about it before, they're handpicked for Perfect Slumbers. Like, they're so good for this Darkflight board. It's maybe not even unethical. Like, that is so nice to have these augments, and definitely very strong for him. Notably, KMP is still on that Rengar 1, needs that extra Rengar to get the carry online. He has a Rengar 1 doing nothing, sells the second copy, and that might just be a deciding factor here. So him selling off the second copy of the Rengar, probably showing that it will be a different comp that we're aiming for than the Darkflight one.
Yeah, I mean, considering how much gold he's sitting on right there, it does kind of feel like he might be heading to 9. You'd have to think, and then can pivot to there depending on, you know, the dragons he hits, legendaries.
Deb just casually chilling with 2 2-stars and another one on the board for now. And yeah, if KMP saw that as well, that's probably the reason for it, right? You were just looking for a different option at this point. 2 Darkflight players, both of them found that Rengar 2. One of them even found 2 of the Rengar 2s. You probably don't hit it, so good decision to start a pivot at that point.
Yeah, especially with all the gold in the bank. Deb, you know, however, can hope maybe one of the other Darkflight players goes out first and then, you know, frees up some of those to go into the pool and look for the Rengar 3. But for the moment, it's just going to get just a normal Treasure Dragon and going to have a think. Are you a big re-roller, Makes, or are you you know,
I like
let's keep the gold and with the Treasure Dragon specifically, I mean.
Yeah, so to be fair, I try to have some gold for the Treasure Dragon. Just to, you know, allow myself to have like 3 rolls, maybe 5 if it's going really poorly. I don't roll for long. If I can do something with the items, I will, but I don't really like pressing reroll. It's more fun. Not even only on the dragon, but generally. Asha here has turned the Evoker Nomsy into a Forest Mage Nomsy.
I like this angle. This is really quite interesting. You can see what he's got Salvage Bin there as well, so that's and yeah, put a, you know, the mage spat on top of that while also having the damage item, as we were talking about, right? Like just being able to stack the IE and then another big item, the Rabadons on top of that for this big damage Nomsy.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see what damage that Nomsy can do. Oh, look at it. Just
Juicy.
the backline of that Lagoon board getting completely blown up by that Nomsy just, yeah, yeeting into it. That is massive amounts of damage coming out of Esha's board. And Fred, who was so happy to have found that Soam, now taking another big loss. And him and Perfect Slumbers are both under 30 HP for now.
Yeah, you can see he hasn't even reached 160 on his Lagoon stacks there, and I believe that was the player that didn't find it until later in the game, right? So you can kind of see that coming through now. I mean, even the items on the Silas 2 there looking pretty strong as well. If you can get three stacks on that tank, he does start becoming very good as a solo frontliner.
Oh, I love that. So hitting the Philios, then taking off the items to get that Bloodthirster on the Graves for now is 1 Swain short of Swain 2. And I am going to pose a question to which I think there is no correct or wrong answer. But do you prefer to go for tanky Swain or for heavy damage AP Swain?
Yeah, I like Infinite Swain. You know, I feel like they've tried to reduce the amount of like tanks that can go infinite in the game a lot in the last like couple of sets, and I feel like Swain's probably one of the best options for that right now. So yeah, chucking the, you know, like an Archangels on him and some other stuff there to try and just Darkflight Essence as well. I think is you know, people have been really teching that in where you can put a full 3 items on Swain because he doesn't need the Darkflight Essence himself, right? If he's going to be the last one alive.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a second Soam for Omni here, but we can see Fred hit the Soam too. And if I saw that correctly, KMP just hit a Shyvana too? I'm not sure if my eyes have fooled me, but
that makes sense, right?
I think there was a Shyvana 2 going on. We will check in later. Right now, Omni is rolling down, trying to find those upgrades. Does found the Silas 2, but would prefer to have that Soam 2 not coming around for now, selling off some of the units to restore a little bit of the bank account. A little bit of an unfortunate roll for Omni.
Wow, we've even got some shimmer scale augments in the chat. So, you know, maybe we're not quite up to 9 shimmer scale yet. Hopefully Chaos will get that in one of his games. But certainly someone trying
Pastors
to
can
lean into
dream.
that. Yeah, always.
I mean, to be fair, like if you can go into shimmer scale, by all means, like in the direction of 9, it will be very, very good. Not necessarily for like the last couple of rounds, like in a 1v1, but before that, it's just printing money, gives you so much extra board strength. Really, really lovely. And if you get those 9 online, I believe it's a top 1 comp. So,
absolutely. Crown
yeah.
of Champions is nuts, right? But yeah, even that
Gonna
pay to win
see
augment
that hopefully this weekend.
he's got there is, you know, that's an extra 35% damage. You know, so if you've got those shimmer scale champions there to try and make as your carries, 35% is not to sneeze at.
Yeah, okay, we are on the KMP board and my eyes have not tricked me. This is 4 dragons for now on this board here. Could go 5, has the option to put another dragon in, but currently on that Shyvana too. Really lovely items as well. Terra in the front line. Loving this very, very strong board. Would love to see an upgrade on that Terra, just to have a little bit of more beefiness going on. But for now, let's see how the 4 dragons fare in a 1v1 against Omni, who's also still missing that zone too.
Yeah, look, he hasn't got a 2-star dragon, but I mean, you know, we've only got 1 on the other side as well, right? And it is that Shyvana who's managed to get to the back line and blows everything up. That is some deadly, that is a deadly fire-breathing dragon right there.
We are actually having our first player getting kicked out here. Perfect Slumbers has been knocked out, and so did Asha. No. The birthday buff did not come through. I think there was probably some unfairness going on, not leaving him the first carousel. But for now, will be Asha going 8th and Perfect Slumbers following 7th. And slowly but surely, the lobby is decimating, and there's a game pass that's going in. We will, of course, inform you guys as soon as we know what's going on, but give us a few seconds to figure out what has happened, and you can see our faces for now. Now, Genome, we've seen a lot of Dark Flight going in. We've seen 2 players on the Lagoon angle. Is that what you kind of expected going into this game?
Yeah, I think they're definitely some of the comps we talked about. You know, KMP starting with such an eco-heavy start, going for the dragons, definitely something we expected as well. The big question for me there was, you know, considering most of the dragons are 1-star, how strong do you think that board is if you can't get them all up to 2 stars?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like having that Shyvana 2 by now will also be like a big point. But once you get that Terra 2, it will be just so beefy. Like Terra does not fall over easily, and the rest of the team can just dish out the damage. Then we've seen some 6 dragon boards now with the B patch. We are on the B patch currently. Has been nerfed a little bit, thankfully. I don't think it has nerfed. It has been nerfed enough to make 6 dragons not a chase rate anymore. I think they're still very, very strong, and it's intended for them to be strong. Of course, we are in Dragonflight, so dragons should be strong, but Dragonlance.
Yeah, look, we haven't seen any dragon souls this time, right? So I don't think we're going to see any 6 dragons coming out anytime soon. At least not
in this round, but you might get surprised. For now, we're going to go back into the game as soon as everyone's ready, just making sure they're all there. We had a short player disconnect, so got to make sure they're all here to continue this game. But in we go. The game resumes, and now it's all eyes on Fred, right? Fred 13 HP. Really, really scary situation to be in. You want to make it into those top 4, because top 4 is what's going to qualify you for tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I mean, on average, you could probably even slum it down to 5th or 6th, potentially, right? Depending on what your average is going, because we're only cutting 8 players. There's, you know, 16 of the 24 will be going through, so even slightly worse than average will make it to day 2, and then it gets harder and harder the further we go on from there. Now, here's that tanky Swain we were talking about. You know, Cav giving him a lot of extra resist there, as well as the Morellos to help burn down these other players, these other champions left on the board. And at this point, I'm not sure they're going to be able to get through him. The overtime buff is not enough for the Dragon Breath.
Yeah, that was one tanky boy. But for now, we're going to check in with Fred. We are at what I like to call, I don't know how you guys are calling it, but to me this is the Treasure Golem or the Treasure Goblin. Both of these are acceptable because it gives you treasure and it looks like a golem.
Yeah, I mean, it's the blue buff guy, right? Like it's the blue buff from Summoner's Rift, if I'm not incorrect, which I absolutely could be because my lore knowledge is lacking. But yeah, I can see why you'd get that too.
So Fred finding that Hex Tech here for now. I'm just looking across the board at what could be a potential upgrade. We are on 60 gold, could go to level 9. Not sure that's what we're chasing though, because what are you going to do with the level 9? Just put in the Talia?
Let's go Talia 1, yeah. Doesn't, you know, it gives him 2 useless traits in Lagoon and Mage, but...
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either, honestly. I mean,
okay, I know what this is.
Okay.
This is a long shot angle. He's thinking he's going to survive this and then find something better after this round in the shop when he has gold again. But there's a tanky Swain in the way. I'm not sure that's going to work out. However, the Morello from that zone doing magic here, just completely burning down the Swain. Of course, it's going to regenerate a little bit. The Rengar now onto the zone. But the Swain has been knocked out. Now it's only the Rengar that they need to find. Fred really knowing what his board can do. Omni, however, getting knocked out here.
Yeah, I'd be interested what the damage stats were on that one. It seemed like Nala there was doing a lot of work in the backline and then being able to finish them off. But you're right, the Morellos was a huge difference there. I think as soon as you start seeing someone, you know, making Swain your carry, you absolutely have to start. If you don't have a Sunfire or a Morellos in your arsenal, definitely be looking out for them when you get to those later carousels.
So I can tell you right now that TXE and KNP will both gonna have a great time going into the later stages. Both of them are chasing the dragons. We can see TXE already has the Azul 2 online. Now, can he take out the Swain before the Swain takes out him? Will be the question. The Rengars are on to that Azul, but the Azul is just going to explode the board. And I think the Terra is strong enough to find another win here. And actually, Fred and Deb are both getting knocked out. We're down to top 3.
Yeah, it's all happened very quickly here in our first game for the regional finals. And as you say, you know, some of these boards have you know, really started to shape up. There's that Karma 3 that's been sitting there since the very start. Hasn't found a Dragon Mancer. I mean, I'm assuming that they would have put that in if they could fit it. What are they missing? It's always hard when you've got 7 out of 8 Dragon Mancer to work out which one's not quite there. Either way, you know, they've got the Yasuo. They've been frontlining this Karma the whole time, which some of our other casters have been telling us is kind of the tech these days, just to, you know, you have so much health that you're just like, hey, why not? May as well get the extra mana to start pumping out that damage. And you can see, even at this late stage in the game, Karma still one-shotting a lot of these very important units. But finally, she finds Terra, and they've got the Dragon's Claw activated, which gives, you know, stacked on top of Dragon, of course, you get an extra 20% magic resist on top of what the item already grants you, and that's just too much.
Yeah, that was knockout. Was missing, of course, the second spat there to actually go to those 8 Dragon Mancers. But for now, like I called it, I feel a little bit proud right now. Both of the Dragon boards are in our top 2 spots. KNP and TXE running it back to back. One side has the Azul 2, the other side has the Shyvana 2. Would very much like to find that Ao Shin, and it is in the shop for KNP. That's so strong.
Oh my god! And look at the Thieves Glove as well. We've got a double Zeke's roll. You know, like without mana generation items on that our Shin, it's a little bit harder to get that first cast off, but with the double Zeeks, that's going to pump it up as well. I don't know. I'm feeling good about the Ao Shin board. How about you?
Yeah, so personally, I'm not the biggest ASOL fan, so naturally, I am on the side of the Ao Shin. Also, KNP is going to have a tough time if he finds a loss here, so he needs the Ao Shin to do the thundering lightning coming through, and it will be a little fight-off between those two as KNP is trying to take off the HP bar of TXE that has accumulated over this time. This metabolic just doing him so many favors.
Yeah, you can see, with the Ao Shin, it's just pumping out huge amounts of damage there versus that ASOL who you've got is kind of the opposite, right? Because A, it's got an Archangels on it, which ramps up, and it didn't have time to ramp up, and you're not going to get time to ramp up against it. And B, ASOL starts doing, the bigger cast and more damage towards the end of the round. And again, if we can't get towards the end of the round, he's going to be struggling. But you can see there, 83 gold on the side of TXE.
Yeah, really needs to have that gold to get the most out of that gold, Mantis, right? But the big kicker here is I think that ASOL is missing a little bit of mana generation, so not having those huge recasts come through is just hurting him so much, and it will be KNP finding another win as we go into one more big upgrade for both of these boards. It's going to be Giant Slayer for both.
I love to see this. It just feels fair. It feels right for them both to get the same item, at least. Yeah, I mean, you bring up a great point about the Dragon Mancer. The Shimmer Scale item there that's allowing that extra AP. At this point, would it ever be worth rolling down and trying to find some upgrades, or do you think it's always, the right play to just keep that 80 gold and give yourself the most damage possible?
So this is something that has been discussed a lot, because every time I say they should just roll down, people are like, oh, Mix, you're forgetting about the Shimmer Scale. I'm not. I think if you have been losing twice in a row in a situation where the next loss might get you knocked out, and the Shimmer Scale power that you're getting is not enough, and you need to roll to find bigger board strength. And that's exactly what TXE is finding right now. Soy being hit, Terra being hit, finding all of those juicy big upgrades. Would love to find that ASOL 3 if it's in the cards, but I don't think it will be that for now. Stays on 70 golds to retain a little bit of that extra board slam. Just slamming the Giant Slayer last second. You can see KNP is holding one of the ASOLs on the back bench.
Ooh, we've got a champ duplicator as well, actually. I'm assuming that came out in the last neutrals round. Will any of these items, will any of the upgrades change this, or will Ao Shin reign supreme yet again? The cast doesn't quite finish things off, but this round does. KNP, I think it was, or was that TXE that took out the win?
It was KNP, if I'm not completely